Hello and welcome to the recommendation round. This is the show where I take a brief moment to recommend a handful of movies within a particular subject. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to open this episode with a fancy little quote. Tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you fall down a sewer and die. Deny it all you want, but comedy builds on schadenfreude. That is, pleasure at the misfortune of others. We laugh our asses off when someone falls over or embarrasses themselves. And sometimes what happens to people is so horrible, so awful, so violent, or so tragic that we end up laughing anyway because we just don't know how the hell else to react. And that is where today's theme comes in, because today we're looking at black comedy. That is to say, those movies that go out of their way to try and make us laugh at the most horrendous shit. So let's wave our freak flags and be horrible people together. Let's start the list off with some good old fantasy fulfillment with Bobcat Goldthwait's God Bless America. And in case you don't know who Bobcat Goldthwait is, well, it's this guy.
Nice bike! Waiting with the batteries!
Man, if ever there was evidence that anyone can make a movie, this is it. In God Bless America, we meet Frank, who, to say the least, is not having his best day. His neighbors are assholes, his daughter is a spoiled brat that hates his ass, he gets fired from his job on a wrongful sexual harassment charge, and he gets diagnosed with a brain tumor all on the same day. And to make matters worse, everyone around him do nothing with their lives but regurgitate whatever they saw on last night's trashy reality TV show. So with nothing left to live for, Frank decides to clean up in the world by going out and killing all the annoying people he sees on TV. And somewhat unwillingly, he ends up getting the help of a rebellious 16-year-old girl. From the first scene, God Bless America gives you a great sense of shameless catharsis, as you get to live out that secret little fantasy of getting rid of all the most obnoxious people you know in the world. And trust me, it is as glorious as it is hilarious, both due to the random violence of it all, and due to how bad Frank actually is at doing this. Well, at first anyway. While the movie does thankfully steer away from having much of a higher moral than its base fantasy fulfillment, it does occasionally remind the viewer to check themselves before they claim to be smarter than the rest of the world, which is nice and refreshing. But at the end of the day, if you're just a little bit sick in the head, like most of the world, then this movie makes for a great break from reality so you can handle another few weeks of the random nonsense in your life. I say check it out. To be perfectly honest, I could probably fill this whole list with Bobcat Goldthwait movies, but let's save those for another time, shall we? Moving on to something a lot darker but no less hilarious, we have In Bruges. Here a pair of British gangsters are sent to a small Belgian town to sit tight while their boss tries to fix the mess they made of their last job. All they have to do is stay there and pretend to be normal tourists until they get a phone call telling them it's safe to come back home. One gangster, played by Brendan Gleeson, is perfectly fine with this, while the other, played by Colin Farrell, is absolutely bored out of his skull. Plus, he seems to be more than a bit shaken up about the job they messed up. Outside of simply containing some of the best insults I've heard in like any movie ever, In Bruges does a great job at making you laugh and sympathize with people that, for all you know, are stone cold contract killers. It finds humanity in all the strangest places with the help of a great script and equally great performances, even as it deals with horrible themes like depression, guilt, and fear of judgment. I don't really want to give more away than the core concept, but let's just say you're never gonna be laughing quite so hard in a place that is quite so dull and dreary at subjects that are quite this dark and depressing. So just grab yourself a proper beer and enjoy.
One gay beer for my gay friend, one normal beer for me, because I am normal. This is the life.
Hey, fuck off, Colin, you don't know shit! Have you ever watched an episode of Friends and thought to yourself, hey, how come David Schwimmer isn't in any more comedy movies? Well, I found a good one for you. In Big Nothing, David Schwimmer plays a call center employee who ends up getting roped into a blackmailing scheme by his co-worker, played by Simon Pegg, in order to get out of their dead-end lives. As they go to their target's house to get their money, however, things start getting very complicated very fast. And I'm not just saying that for fun either. Like, I would tell you more, but if I do, I'll give you like 5 spoilers. Because this is the kind of movie where not 10 minutes pass without some kind of shocking swerve happening. All the audience as well as the characters can do is watch in complete bewilderment as everything spirals more and more out of control and gets crazier and crazier. And this is a movie that starts with attempting to blackmail a pedophile priest, mind you. So if you like shit to be constantly shaken up, Big Nothing is the movie for you. You know that movie XX that is making a big media splash because it consists of 4 horror stories written and directed by women? Well, forget about that one. It's an alright movie and all, but it cannot hold a candle to this one when it comes to female-driven horror. I actually only saw this movie like a week before recording this video, but I absolutely have to mention it here. It's just too good to pass up. In Revenge, a woman named Ruth, who is in the last stages of her pregnancy, becomes convinced that her unborn baby is talking to her. Mostly about how to kill the people they both feel are responsible for the death of the father. So with a bit more weight to carry than most serial killers, Ruth slices her way through one obnoxious person after another, all while trying to convince herself that she's the one in control, and not the baby inside her. Alice Lowe, who plays Ruth, wrote and directed this movie and apparently recorded the whole thing while in the last 2 to 3 weeks of her pregnancy. Not only is that super badass on its own, the result is a really hilarious look at the everyday discrimination women face for their bodies and lifestyle choices no matter what the hell they do, as well as the feeling of loss of control that comes with pregnancy. And of course, all of it is served with a healthy dose of no time for bullshit British wit. Now, this movie is an indie film and it is pretty new, so you probably have to do a bit of digging on various streaming services to find it. But trust me, it is well worth the effort. So there you go, guys. Some dark laughs to spice up the bright days ahead. You're welcome. Don't forget to hit the like button and leave me a comment about some of your favorite black comedies. And of course, there's also the subscribe button for more fun in the future. And speaking of the future, I have plenty more of these videos planned, but I still want to hear from you guys. Are there any particular subjects you're looking for a couple recommendations on? Then let me know using this hashtag in any of my social media, all of which have links in the description, and who knows, maybe it will pop up. And hey, if you're considering supporting me on Patreon anyway, there might even be a way to push that suggestion a little. With that shameless plug out of the way though, see ya next time!